days ago, a story was going around about a college student who faced 2 Title IX investigations. The first for fist bumping a woman. Yes, literally fist bumping, like, hey, what's up, you know? The second for taking a selfie with someone. Now, when you hear a story like that, you have to imagine that sounds pretty ridiculous. Why would someone be investigated for sexual harassment over something so innocent? But what makes this story so egregious is that the individual in question is actually autistic, and they don't have a good grasp on social situations. This is somebody who should be protected by our system, not punished and investigated for sexual harassment. Well, now we have another story coming out about someone who was leading the charge to protect women against rape, and it turns out they're actually a sexual predator themselves. So we have this sort of inverted system where we try to protect people, but the predators are using the system to their advantage, and the innocent are being punished. So what exactly happened in this story, and why was this autistic student investigated for sexual harassment over something so innocent? But before we get started, please head over to patreon.com/timcast to become a patron and help support my work. This is what I do for a living. So if you like these videos, you want to see more on-the-ground reporting and interviews, please consider becoming a patron at whatever level you feel comfortable today. The story from the College Fix. This autistic student asked for a fist bump and a selfie. He got 2 Title IX investigations. The student, who has autism, cerebral palsy, and a shunt to relieve fluid pressure on his brain, was not allowed to defend himself against allegations in 2 Title IX investigations this past fall, his mother told the College Fix. Aurora Knight has raised more than half of the money to cover legal fees through a GoFundMe campaign as she challenges the sexual misconduct findings on her son's record. And there is an update. As of the filming of this video, their goal of $7,000 has been met, and so far they have actually raised $8,040 for legal support for Marcus. The story says, though Saddleback College lifted Marcus's suspension a day before a hearing last month, it has thus far refused to remove the findings from his record, Aurora wrote in an update to the campaign Wednesday. Her son has limited expressive language capabilities and cannot negotiate social situations as easily as others. Though he receives academic accommodations for his disabilities, he was not offered accommodations in the Title IX process, Aurora wrote in an email. When we look at individuals with limited social skills, we cannot expect that they respond in the same way as a typical individual. Now, it might be a little late to bring up, but for those of you who don't know what Title IX is, it's a federal law guaranteeing that you will not face gender discrimination at an educational institution. The first incident occurred in the first week of September when Marcus was in the student service offices and asked a female student working there if he could fist bump her. She agreed, but soon filed a Title IX complaint. The next week, Aurora and Marcus were asked to meet with the school's Disabled Students Programs and Service Coordinator, who allegedly called the fist bump inappropriate behavior. Aurora told the Fix that Marcus did not bump anything other than the female's knuckles. His mother told the coordinator that Marcus had been at the office seeking campus employment. The official allegedly said that would be totally pointless because Marcus was obviously incapable and should be taking adult disability classes instead of college classes. Though the coordinator said the incident would not go on her son's record if the behavior stopped, according to Aurora, the mother became aggravated by the description of a consensual fist bump as inappropriate. She asked the coordinator, did he touch her? Did he hug her? Did he follow her? Did he try to get her phone number? Did he expose himself? When the coordinator allegedly said no to each, Aurora said she responded, then stop calling it inappropriate, he's just trying to make a friend. Now, I do want to make sure I put in this disclaimer. The College Fix is a biased source, but whether or not you trust them is entirely up to you. According to their reporter, they reached out several times to the university and didn't get a statement back. So what we're hearing is coming from the family, who are obviously outraged at the treatment of this student. And that doesn't mean that anything they're saying is not true or that the reporting is incorrect, just something you should keep in mind as we move forward with this story. A month later, an official who served as both Vice President of Student Services and Title IX coordinator called the Knights into another meeting, with police present, because the female student had reported the incident as sexual harassment, according to Aurora. This official did not respond to a query from the Fix. The student had changed her story to say that Marcus hugged her, sat very close to her, grabbed her with one hand, and with his other, tried to get her hands onto his upper thighs. Aurora said that didn't seem physically possible, given the female student had been sitting behind the counter. Marcus acted out what he did, a two-handed fist bump at that meeting. And perhaps to better understand the situation, you should watch this video from Marcus Knight himself.
Hello everyone, this is Marcus Knight, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that has supported me and my family during this difficult time. The good news is the suspension has been lifted, so I can continue my education, but the Title IXs are still on my school record, so I still need your support. I'm not a bad guy, but I was just trying to make friends. The safest way I've been taught by doing is a fist bump and asking permission for selfies. My actions were not inappropriate. I do not deserve 2 Title IXs in my record. I know I'm different, but I'm not a monster. I just wanted to make friends and fit in like everyone else. Thank you for your ongoing support. And thank you, Ashley, for helping me express myself and writing this message.
Now, for those of you that follow my channel and my second channel, you've heard me say this a million times, but it needs to be said in this circumstance. We try to create programs to protect those we think are disadvantaged or are in need of some help. We try to create programs to try and offset certain inequality. But in this instance, it seems like it's being wielded against somebody who is disabled. This individual who has cerebral palsy and autism is someone who needs to be protected and requires individual consideration for what's happening here. But it seems like the bureaucracy and the system put in place just churns everyone through without consideration for who they are as individuals. If we were to look at Title IX and this individual, we can say, in this circumstance, let's do something different because this is somebody with autism and cerebral palsy. Instead, the system is set up to just say, these are the rules and this is how we act, and this person is going to be punished because of it. But before we move on, I want to point out, this narrative is coming from the point of view of the family who naturally want to defend their child from these allegations. We don't have the whole picture here. We don't know what the college is going to say or what the women who are making the accusations would say. So naturally, this is a biased story. So put down your pitchforks, put out your torches. We're not marching anywhere right now. It's just something that's interesting to know about because if the family is telling the truth, it's just another grain of sand in the heap. That the more we try to create programs inclusive of everyone, we actually start excluding certain people. But now let's talk about how people are wielding this kind of power to their benefit when it turns out they actually are predators. A story just today from the Huffington Post. Sex abuse fighter Joel Davis arrested for child porn, enticing minor for sex. The 22-year-old Columbia University student faces a possible life sentence behind bars. A prominent 22-year-old advocate against sexual violence stands accused of living a double life by federal authorities who arrested him on charges of committing a number of sex crimes involving children, facing him with the possibility of life behind bars. Joel Davis, a Columbia University student and the founding executive director of Youth to End Sexual Violence, faces a potential sentence of life in prison. He was taken into custody on Tuesday following a month-long sting operation by undercover FBI agents, according to a federal complaint. U.S. Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman, in a statement on Tuesday, termed the case against Davis as unfathomable, as it is sickening. Joel Davis started an organization devoted to stopping sexual violence, while allegedly engaged in the duplicitous behavior of sharing explicit images of infants engaged in sexual activity. The conduct alleged against Joel Davis is unfathomable, as it is sickening. And as this case demonstrates, law enforcement will keep its watchful eye on the darkest corners of the internet to bring predators to justice. There seem to be a lot of stories where individuals who are allegedly on one side are just hiding behind that as a sort of camouflage to protect themselves. In fact, Patton Oswalt put out this tweet a little while ago. In August of 2016, Patton Oswalt tweeted, "The male feminist ally turns out to be a creeper harasser is the family values politician turns out to be gay for millennials." There's actually a hashtag for this phenomenon, and it's called Reset the Clock. The idea being that every time we hear a story about someone who claims to be progressive or a feminist, and they're actually an abuser or sexual harasser, we have to reset the clock. And this is what's so frustrating about these policies, because we do want to protect people. We want to make sure people like this college student who is autistic is protected in these disciplinary hearings. And we want to make sure that we're not abusing the powers of Title IX against those who have done simple acts like fist bumps or selfies. At the same time, there are clever people who are either bullies or actually predators themselves that hide behind these rules and these laws and these regulations so that they can continue to victimize others and get away with it. Too many people who claim to be fighting the good fight are actual bullies who are just using these rules to gain power. And many people rally behind them. And it's one of the biggest problems that we're facing in this culture war. To be able to identify bullies and point them out and say, you are not acting in good faith and you are only using this culture and these rules to gain power for yourself is something that needs to be said of many individuals. But unfortunately, too many of them continue to gain followings. Too many of them continue to get high salary jobs, and the more they do succeed, the more others see that it works and will follow in their footsteps. The important takeaway is that we always need to have individual consideration for people. If you were sitting in an office and an autistic student comes in, perhaps you shouldn't just say what they did was wrong, period. Title IX says it. You should say, this is somebody who requires special consideration for their disability, and we should actually help them and figure out how we can come to a real solution for everyone involved. Instead, people are just scared of the politics. They're scared of being out of themselves. They're scared of losing their jobs, and they're just going to say, you know what, the rules are the rules, and I'm going to check that box. And that means they will eventually stand behind those who are abusers, who want to wield this power for protection and personal gain. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep the conversation going. We've got two stories here. In one instance, a guy who seemingly just fist bumped somebody is being investigated for sexual harassment, and in the other, somebody who's claiming to fight against sexual abuse was actually a sexual abuser. Why is it that we see these stories where everything is totally inverted? It's not the way things should be, it's the opposite of how they should be. Title IX should be used against the abuser and not against the autistic student who is simply trying to make friends. But let me know what you think. Comment below, we'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. Stay tuned, new videos every day at 4 p.m. I'm not going to have any videos on my second channel today because you may have noticed I'm in a very loud, echoey room because I just moved into a new place, but it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out. Stay tuned, and I will have a new video up tomorrow at 4 p.m.